When icons of public life, especially those cloaked in fame and royal prestige, step into the spotlight, what we often witness is a meticulously engineered facade, a flawless, captivating projection designed to charm and persuade. But what if this expertly fashioned image is merely a charade? What if the underlying reality is far more unsettling, deliberately obscured by layers of strategic publicity and controlled narratives? For years, Meghan Markle has diligently crafted a public identity, portraying herself as a compassionate advocate, a progressive royal, a catalyst for change. Yet beneath the radiant smiles and perfectly orchestrated appearances, a profoundly different narrative has been subtly emerging, a persistent murmur from individuals who have truly encountered her when the cameras are dormant, when there's no personal gain, and potentially significant repercussions for speaking out. And what these accounts reveal promises to fundamentally reshape everything you once believed. Remember that widely circulated short video clip? The one featuring an enthusiastic flight attendant enthusiastically praising Meghan Markle, displaying a personal note extolling her kindness and hailing her as the Queen? It quickly became ubiquitous, a heartwarming vignette ostensibly demonstrating Meghan's approachable nature, painting her as a celebrity genuinely valuing everyday individuals. It felt like a feel-good cinematic moment unfolding miles above the ground. Yet for many, particularly within the aviation industry, it didn't just seem too good to be true. It struck them as a transparently staged event. After all, sharing a private note from a passenger, mentioning them by name, violating personal privacy, these actions represent a severe breach of airline regulations, often leading to immediate termination. So, for such a video to not only surface but to gain immense traction without repercussions, the only plausible conclusion is that it wasn't merely permitted, it was meticulously orchestrated. The underlying motive, many speculate, was a desperate maneuver to rehabilitate an image already showing significant fissures, because the authentic reports from the skies convey a starkly contrasting account. Dismiss the TikTok fantasy. Numerous airline personnel, spanning carriers, from British Airways to American Airlines, the very individuals who genuinely interacted with her, swiftly dismissed the video as fabricated. Their collective experiences painted a consistent, deeply troubling picture. Aloof, disrespectful, and profoundly dismissive, she allegedly regarded them as inconsequential, beneath her consideration, mere tools to fulfill her desires. But what truly makes this disturbing is its apparent intentionality. This wasn't merely casual impoliteness. It was allegedly a deliberate act. According to multiple testimonies, the instant Prince Harry moved away or stepped beyond earshot, her demeanor drastically shifted. The cordial smiles vanished, replaced by an icy indifference. A long-serving British Airways flight attendant, speaking voluntarily, recounted serving Meghan on a lengthy flight to South Africa. Her narrative was jarring. Meghan purportedly did not even glance at or acknowledge Archie once during the entire journey. No comforting, no feeding, absolutely nothing. It was the staff and the nanny attending to all his needs, while Meghan reportedly reclined as if the child was not her concern. This was not fatigue. It was allegedly a conscious disengagement. And American Airlines crew members provided similar, even more condemning revelations. They branded her as the absolute worst celebrity they had ever encountered, surpassing those who demand exotic delicacies or throw fits over inadequately chilled beverages. Their consistent grievance? Allegedly demanding complimentary upgrades, asserting an entitlement to first-class amenities despite holding an economy ticket, and becoming genuinely hostile when her demands were refused. They graphically described navigating her section as walking on eggshells at 40,000 feet, feeling invisible or even subhuman in her presence. And this pattern of conduct wasn't a novel development that emerged with her royal status or global recognition. Even prior to her marriage to Harry, during her tenure on the series Suits, hushed conversations had already begun. Insiders from the modest film productions she participated in recounted stories that caused industry professionals to shake their heads in disbelief. These were not blockbuster productions with lavish budgets and extravagant demands. They were small-scale, closely knit projects simply aiming to complete their work. Yet Meghan allegedly rendered life agonizing for the crew. She reportedly declined to travel with the rest of the team, insisting on business-class flights for routes that didn't even offer such a service. And when her demands were rejected, she purportedly didn't just accept it, she erupted. On one occasion, on a film set where the catering budget barely covered bottled water, she allegedly demanded a private jet for a mere 2-hour flight. This was not an isolated incident. Numerous sources echoed the same sentiment. Her pervasive sense of entitlement, her dismissive comportment, her alleged disregard for anyone who did not directly fulfill her objectives. It was the unmistakable, "Do you know who I am?" attitude, long before she achieved widespread global recognition. It is as if the very moment she tasted prominence, she determined that fundamental courtesy and respect for others were beneath her dignity. Upon her entry into the royal family, this alleged conduct did not simply cease or diminish. It reportedly intensified. Accounts began to surface from palace personnel, initially quiet murmurs, then growing in volume, individuals resigning from their positions, others declining to collaborate with her. The public justifications remained consistent. She's under immense pressure. She's been misunderstood. However, behind the opulent gates, the identical narrative allegedly unfolded repeatedly. Accusations emerged of a profoundly challenging work environment, accompanied by reports of staff feeling undermined and disrespected. In the United States, the accounts from American Airlines crew only served to corroborate this. Meghan reportedly expected treatment befitting royalty, quite literally, even when utilizing commercial flights. She allegedly did not purchase premium tickets, but nonetheless demanded premium service. There was no eye contact, no genuine warmth, simply cold gazes and terse instructions. Staff would depart her section physically tense, describing the experience as akin to navigating a minefield at 40,000 feet. This unrelenting pressure, coupled with the perceived duplicity of the TikTok video, reportedly represented the breaking point for many. Airline employees, bound by stringent contracts and non-disclosure agreements, cautiously began to reach out, sharing their version of events, one where Meghan allegedly not only acted with entitlement, but treated individuals with overt disdain, rendering them utterly invisible. There is a peculiar, unsettling paradox at play here. Someone so consumed with meticulously controlling her public narrative, so assiduously curating every visible appearance, appears to overlook a fundamental truth. Ordinary individuals communicate, not merely the public relations teams or the admiring magazine writers, but the regular people who have collaborated with her, served her, or shared a flight. They depart with indelible stories, narratives that accumulate in hushed conversations. This entire situation transcends mere entitlement, escalating into something genuinely disquieting when one considers the apparent deliberateness of it all. When Meghan senses she is being observed, she allegedly performs flawlessly, radiating smiles, expressing gratitude, even penning a handwritten note. However, when the cameras are off, when the carefully applied social media filters are removed, a starkly different version purportedly materializes. The kind who treats others as mere background noise unless they prove advantageous. The kind who perceives kindness as a choreographed display, rather than an inherent quality. One airline staffer's unsettling anecdote resonates. Meghan would reportedly only utter "thank you" if Harry was in close proximity. Not due to oversight, but because she was enacting a role. And that truly is the sort of detail one simply cannot feign. Even more disconcerting is the seemingly impregnable shield safeguarding this alleged conduct. Non-disclosure agreements, stringent confidentiality clauses, the specter of legal action. It is as though her entire public existence is enveloped by a legal stronghold. Be it airline contracts, royal staff protocols, or corporate image consultants, those who purport to have witnessed her less flattering sides are constrained by silence. This renders the public relations stunts not merely irritating, but profoundly personal for internal observers. They are privy to the truth, yet ostensibly forbidden from articulating it. Consequently, when a TikTok video inexplicably goes viral, portraying her in a golden light, it is not merely frustrating. It represents a profound affront to those who purportedly endured her behind closed doors. Even her own kin appear to have distanced themselves, her father publicly estranged, her half-siblings vocal critics. More recently, even her mother, Doria, seems to be subtly creating space. At a Beyoncé concert, Doria appeared without Meghan, no shared photographs, no joint preparations. When Meghan later confessed on a podcast to being annoyed by this, the underlying tone was not one of concern or curiosity. It conveyed an unsettling sense of control slipping away. And for an individual who purportedly thrives on orchestrating every facet of her public image, that reality is truly terrifying. And then there is Harry, ostensibly caught amidst this sprawling apparatus. He presumably continues to hold on to the belief that he married someone embodying his late mother's virtues, benevolent, generous, graceful. However, insiders suggest he has purportedly diminished within the relationship, fading into Meghan's shadow. He opens doors while she strikes poses. He speaks softly while she commands attention. It is as though the balance of power decisively inverted the moment they settled in California. And if these narratives hold true, even Harry himself may not always encounter the authentic Meghan, but rather the persona she chooses for him to witness. It all invariably circles back to a singular, profound axiom. How an individual treats those from whom they stand to gain absolutely nothing reveals their true essence. Meghan Markle has amassed extraordinary fame, immense wealth, and an unparalleled global platform. But none of that carries genuine weight if, at her core, she allegedly treats individuals as mere props in her personal narrative. Inevitably, such conduct exacts a price because even when individuals are silenced by contractual obligations, unwavering loyalty, or sheer apprehension, the truth possesses an uncanny ability to surface, initially in hushed tones, then progressively louder, until one day, the spotlight swivels, and the carefully constructed facade irrevocably crumbles. The sheer presumption of demanding royal deference without undertaking royal responsibilities is a persistent motif deeply resonating with those who have interacted with her. It stands in stark opposition to the narratives of humility and public service she frequently champions. This isn't merely about requesting a particular brand of bottled water. It allegedly signifies a fundamental disregard for the roles and contributions of others. The subtle, yet consistent nature of these alleged indignities, the averted gaze, the curt instruction, the absence of a genuine expression of gratitude, paints a picture of someone who perceives service personnel not as distinct individuals, but as interchangeable utilities. What proves particularly intriguing is the consistent manifestation of this alleged conduct across remarkably diverse settings, from a modestly budgeted film set during her acting career, where she was just one among many aspiring talents, to the stringent, hierarchical environment of the British royal family, and even within the service industry aboard commercial flights. The unbroken thread running through these accounts suggests not a reactionary response to specific pressures or circumstances, but rather an ingrained personality trait that adapts to, yet consistently persists within, any given milieu. It points towards a deeply held conviction of personal superiority that overrides conventional social norms and established professional expectations. The escalating skepticism from the public isn't fueled by a malicious intent to disparage, but rather by genuine bewilderment at the stark disparity between the meticulously cultivated public image and the increasingly frequent whispers from those who claim to have witnessed a profoundly different reality. It directly challenges the very notion of authenticity in the contemporary era of personal branding. How much of what we perceive is truly genuine, and how much constitutes a meticulously choreographed performance designed to exert control over a narrative that might otherwise spontaneously unravel? This transcends a mere discussion about Meghan Markle. It delves into the broader implications for celebrity culture and the progressively blurred boundaries separating perception from tangible reality. Consider the cumulative impact of these seemingly isolated occurrences. Each anecdote, taken in isolation, might be easily dismissed as mere gossip or the grievance of a disaffected employee. However, when a consistent pattern emerges, spanning continents, diverse industries, and numerous years, originating from varied sources with no discernible connection or shared agenda, it becomes increasingly challenging to disregard. The sheer volume and unwavering consistency of these accounts collectively begin to form a compelling, albeit profoundly troubling, behavioral mosaic. This is not merely a singular unfortunate day, it appears to represent a consistent mode of operation, a fundamental approach to interacting with those perceived to occupy a lesser station. And it compels us to ponder, if this alleged dual-faced conduct is indeed so pervasive, what are its true costs to those within her sphere of influence? Beyond the immediate discomfort of an unpleasant interaction, there is the corrosive erosion of morale, the dehumanizing sensation of being devalued, and the profound frustration of observing a public figure championing virtues like kindness while purportedly practicing the antithesis in private. The psychological burden on staff, particularly those in roles explicitly designed to serve and facilitate, cannot be underestimated. It leaves an indelible mark, shaping their perceptions not solely of Meghan Markle, but of the inherent nature of fame and the dynamics of power itself. Ultimately, the most authentic measure of one's character frequently lies not in grand public declarations, but in those quiet, unobserved moments. How one genuinely treats the baggage handler, the server, the administrative assistant, or the flight attendant. These are the interactions devoid of public fanfare, where there is no camera to impress, no audience for whom to perform. When expressions of gratitude become a calculated maneuver and respect is rendered conditional, it raises profound questions regarding the sincerity of any public display. The glossy exterior may endure for a period, but the unvarnished truth, quietly conveyed by many, possesses an insistent ability to eventually demand recognition, progressively fracturing even the most impeccably polished facades. Further complicating this intricate tapestry are the ceaseless media narratives that invariably encircle her. Some news outlets frame her as a perpetual victim, relentlessly assailed by a hostile press and an unyielding institutional establishment. Conversely, others depict her as a calculating strategist, adept at manipulating circumstances for her personal aggrandizement. The unvarnished truth, as is often the case, is likely far more nuanced than any singular sensational headline would suggest. Nevertheless, the persistent reverberation of negative experiences from those on the ground, the dedicated service staff, the tireless crew members, the loyal palace aides, offers a perspective rarely filtered through official channels or carefully constructed public relations spin. It is a raw, unfiltered viewpoint that effectively pierces through the pervasive noise. It is also pertinent to scrutinize the broader concept of celebrity entitlement. Is Meghan Markle merely an amplified instance of a widespread phenomenon among the globally renowned, or does her alleged behavior genuinely distinguish itself even within a cohort notoriously accustomed to making demands? The striking consistency of the complaints, particularly emanating from individuals who have routinely interacted with countless other high-profile personalities, strongly suggests that her conduct may indeed transcend a threshold rarely crossed by others. This is not merely about exhibiting occasional difficulty. It allegedly pertains to a consistent behavioral pattern that verges on outright contempt for those providing essential services, irrespective of their specific role or geographical location. The long-term repercussions of such an alleged divergence between public image and private conduct can be profound. While a meticulously managed narrative can effectively sustain itself for a certain duration, persistent leaks and compelling first-hand accounts invariably erode credibility. In an increasingly transparent global landscape, where virtually anyone equipped with a mobile device can capture an interaction or disseminate a personal story, the capacity to exercise absolute control over one's public image is rapidly diminishing. The hushed whispers incrementally amplify, and the carefully curated filter ultimately falters, thereby unveiling the underlying reality. This trajectory could ultimately culminate in a lasting legacy defined not by her declared intentions, but by her consistently reported actions when the intense glare of the spotlight recedes. Moreover, one must consider the psychological toll that this situation inevitably inflicts upon those who operate in close proximity to such a figure. To continually observe conduct that directly contradicts the public facade, to allegedly endure discourtesy while others are showcased with radiant smiles and effusive handwritten notes, engenders a peculiar form of professional cognitive dissonance. This extends beyond a mere unpleasant interaction. It encapsulates a deeply unsettling sensation of being a mere pawn in someone else's carefully constructed public relations game, forcibly silenced while a potentially deceptive narrative flourishes. This unacknowledged burden can exert a significant weight, contributing to professional burnout and fostering a profound yearning for the unvarnished truth to finally emerge. And finally, the overarching implication here transcends the singular focus on one individual. It fundamentally interrogates our collective willingness, as an audience, to uncritically embrace the meticulously engineered personas of public figures. It compels us to peer beyond the dazzling surface, to critically scrutinize the narratives we are passively fed, and to genuinely consider the unfiltered accounts shared by those who possess no vested interest in preserving an illusion. The pervasive allegations surrounding Meghan Markle serve as an potent and timely reminder that genuine character is, more often than not, most truthfully revealed, not when the world's gaze is intensely fixed, but precisely when it mistakenly believes no one is observing at all. What do you think? Do these stories suggest a calculated public persona, or is it merely the unfair scrutiny that comes with immense fame?